This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my co-host. We are into Week 7 against the Detroit Lions back at M&T Bank Stadium. First game, I think, since the Colts game in our home stadium, and our best game yet. Really nothing, no negatives to say about this game. I mean, it was an impeccable game, a perfect game. Lamar Jackson really showed out this game. The defense showed out. The offense showed out. Really no complaints. I mean, this might be one of our easiest episodes, not just this year, but since we started doing this podcast. Very pleased, kind of surprised too. I expected a close game. I don't know if you did as well. But, I mean, I think they had the spread at 3.5. So, I mean, all the hype with the Lions, I was like, they're going to test us. Let's see if we're the real deal against a contender. And, man, I mean, it was a perfect game.
Can't agree more, Brandon. This was a nice game to watch, right? Sometimes we have these podcasts and it goes south where we're just talking and complaining about the Ravens and every facet of the game. However, this week, you can't say much much negativity at all in this game. And Detroit, look, everybody was raving them up. Everybody was like pumping them up. But I look at their division, and Brandon, I give you credit. You talked about who they played up until this point, but look at their division. You know, it's a Vikings, Packers, and Bears. I mean, this was their first test, and Ravens needed to make a statement in the league. And I think this week they did.
Yeah, I mean, now we're actually getting, which I really don't like, is all the national attention due to this game. I was hearing some people online saying this should be a primetime game, you know, because of how good the Lions were doing. And, I mean, now we're on the map. I mean, I listen to my boy Colin Coward a lot, and he does his herd hierarchy where he lists the top 10 teams. And he's got us at number 2. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him put us so high right behind the Chiefs. So now I
don't know if I like that. I like to stay under the radar, just like you said,
yeah,
you know,
but
because,
I mean,
hey, it is what it is.
The way Lamar is playing at arguably, you could say, MVP level, people are going to be put on notice. You know, when you blow out a team like this, I mean, it was really over in the first quarter. I think the only point in the game where I thought it could possibly change is when that Justice Hill handoff went haywire, and I thought maybe possibly, but we were up by so much. I still thought like Lions are going to have to score literally a touchdown every drive just to have a chance back in this game. So there was no moment, especially at halftime, where you thought there was going to be a comeback at all, which was a nice feeling. I think
it was like 21-0. I felt the same way because you know how momentum changes, Brandon, in a game. And when Justice Hill fumbled that handoff.
At halftime, it was 28.
28, so it was 28, not 21, 28-0. So, you know, we thought momentum would change possibly at that point, but then they came back and had a good defensive stand. But I tell you what, I'm telling you, I'm just in general, all facets of the game were good. I had very limited complaints on this game. I'm very critical of the Ravens at times. But when I'm looking at this overall, I really like the way the flow of the game went. I like the way Todd Monken called the game, Brandon. It was really, really good. Finally, I see the weapons being used.
Probably our best called game in years.
Because he used all receivers, all facets of the game. He used Lamar properly, in my opinion, my humble opinion, instead of just scrambling and running him on quarterback runs, design runs,
draws.
There was some couple of plays where they were so out of sorts in Detroit. They didn't know how to defend us because we had so many weapons on the running game and the passing game that Lamar could just like run up like he's going to run and on a sweep, and then he just passed it several times over the top of the linebackers to Andrews for big gains. And
yeah, I mean, I heard one of I believe it was Colin Cowherd. I listen to him, Stephen A, the Volume a lot, and just to hear, you know, what they say, not just Ravens related, but around the league. Typically, I don't hear much Ravens talk on national television, so it's a bit odd now because we're getting all this attention. Reminds me of 2019, but it was interesting. One of them said Baltimore is the fastest team in the league, might be one of the fastest if you count out Miami. And I kind of have to agree. I mean, you look at Zay, you look at Lamar, of course, Justice Hill. Even Odell with a bad knee is still, you know, pretty elusive. And it really put things in perspective to me on like how dangerous this team is in terms of speed, because we all know they love speed and drafting little wide receivers and whatnot. And I have to agree. I mean, we are, I would say, in the top 5 fastest teams in this league in terms of offense, and we utilized it this game to our advantage for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, and I think Detroit was in the top 3 of the running game in the league, and we just shut them down. I mean, it was unbelievable. Rokon and Patrick Queen, thank God he got hurt a little bit, knocked up, but he came back in for the rest of the game. That was good news. But, boy, I tell you what, our defensive run stop is really coming together. And the other thing I was looking at from previous games, Brandon, was the edge, right? We contained the edge because I was worried about that. And because a lot of teams get us on the edge. Exploit us is the word I'm looking for. They exploit us on the edge, and we're vulnerable to that, and also we're vulnerable to the middle and the passing game. So this game, all facets, again, I mean, Lamar was just MVP's type of day. It was just unbelievable what he was doing. And Zay Flowers, he's the real deal. We finally found a receiver in the draft that is actually coming to fruition. Okay, I mean, what can you say? He might be Rookie of the Year this year. And we don't draft well with receivers, Brandon. We know that over the years. So to see Zay do what he's doing right now, that is unbelievable, and I'm happy to hear it and see that in Baltimore. We finally look like we got a decent receiver in the draft. So.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely so far has shown he's our number 1 guy. But it's not like he's overshined everyone else so much, I would say, because every game he's getting around the same amount of catches as some of the other receivers. I mean, this game...
Well, there was a stat. I don't know if you saw it. It was Chase. He had, in the first 7 games... He was the first person to get over 50 yards in 7 games other than Jamar Chase. So that's a stat that is really, really good, okay?
I'm just saying, you look at this game, he had 4 catches, Mark Andrews had 4, Odell had 5, Bateman with his usual 2 catches. There hasn't been a game where Zay is the primary favorite target amongst this team.
Well, he doesn't have to be.
I know, and I don't want him to be, is what I'm trying to say. And, I mean, yeah, he is our number 1, but it's not like he's up here and everyone's down here, because you look at some other teams, like A.J. Brown on the Eagles or a Jamar Chase. It's so far of a disparity from the top to the bottom, whereas everything with us is in this region. Everybody is getting their touches. Everybody is involved, which I wanted. I don't want to just depend on one guy, and then if he gets hurt, who are we going to turn to?
Right. Which makes the team dangerous.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they got all these weapons.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this game with Todd Monken. He finally utilized in a great play calling game all his weapons, various formations. That's what I wanted to see. That's what he promoted. Maybe it's the players that are finally coming to fruition to what he wants,
and,
right?
Everyone seems to be gelling. Everyone seems to be gelling. I think the one key play, I forget what quarter, it was early in the game. I believe, probably our second drive, which really shows how defenses have to compensate for everyone, was when they all rushed in on Mark Andrews and he got the attention and Zay Flowers got the catch over the top, you know? So it's like, okay, you have to compensate for one of these guys, whether it's Zay, Mark, maybe Odell. You never know if he's hot one game, but we'll just beat you with the other receiver, you know?
That's exactly true, and I think that was Zay's longest catch and run, and I think
I think the longest one was in Cincinnati. He had a bomb.
No, I'm talking about this game. This game. So
yeah,
it was a 40 plus yard run. I'm so impressed with Aguilar still. He gets open when he needs to get open.
His only catch, but I mean, what a play!
Hey, what a play! And then Bateman. Hey, we're hard on Bateman in this podcast. Everybody knows if they watched our podcast on a regular basis, Bateman is not our key guy, and he had a couple good catches. He did well, and so that's what I want him to see from him, I should say, and continue on the rest of the season. He cannot just get one catch or two catches a game and just disappear from the offense. So good to see him, have some key catches. And just happy. This is an easy podcast, Brandon, because there was very, very little to criticize, in my opinion, and the score reflects it. So I'm trying to look at some of my notes.
I do have one small criticism, but before that, in terms of to go off of what you said offensively, Lamar didn't get sacked at all, which was nice to see, with this offensive line. Jared Goff, he got sacked. He got pressured.
Oh, a lot.
And due to the fact he's not mobile, that also helps in our favor.
Yeah.
But, before this game, I'm telling you, man, this guy, Aiden Hutchinson, he's a Bosa. He's a TJ Watt. He's a Myles Garrett. He's within that group. I don't think he's as good as any of those guys I mentioned, but he's a young talent. I would love to have him on our team. So I was a bit nervous, I'm like, how are they going to handle that? And it went perfectly. And granted, Lamar, the pocket collapsed a couple times, and with, as you say, his Houdini self made a play. That is the positives you get from a scrambling running quarterback to make those plays that Peyton Manning and Jared Goff could never make in their career. Yeah. So big props to the O-line for not allowing a sack.
I credit Todd Monken for that because he got the ball out of Lamar's hands quickly. That was the game plan. So to
even the plays he held it on too long, Lamar just did Lamar things.
Yeah, but the offensive line, let's give him A+ because they gave him time. There was plenty of times we were just sitting back there looking for receivers to get open. I can think of like 3 to 4 plays where he was just standing back there. And who I used to see doing that is Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. He just sits back there and he's going to destroy you. And that's what Lamar did when he has time, and any quarterback. But these premier quarterbacks, when they have time like that, they're going to kill you. They're going to eat you up. So that combined with Todd's play calling, getting the ball quickly out of his hands, chipping the linebackers coming in or on the rush with some running backs. That was helping too. To block a little bit before they went out on their routes. It was really, Justice Hill doing that.
In terms of running backs, this was Gus Edwards' breakout game.
Oh yeah. They need to utilize him like you've been saying all along, so much more, right? That's our number 1. So use him like you should, and Justice Hill's number 2, and use him like you should in specific situations. But Todd, I hope he's watching his own film, his own play calling, because Gus did what he does, right? He's a brute. He's the boss.
He's the workhorse.
He's the workhorse.
Running back. He only had. It was actually counted as a reception, but Keaton Mitchell, the star in the preseason, the other running back. It's funny, our last home game that we had the podcast, we got on Kenyon Drake, and it's amazing how fast the league changes because the next home game, we're doing this episode right now, he's not even on the team.
He's gone, yeah.
So Keaton Mitchell gets the call up. I don't know. Melvin Gordon, I guess, is kicked to the curb. I have no idea. But personally, because I'm still not the biggest Justice Hill guy, he has a tendency to fumble. Now, granted, that was Lamar's fault, I believe, on that handoff. I still haven't warmed up to Justice. I would like to see just to really like have defenses all over the place, even though they already are, is let's get this Keaton Mitchell. Let's see what he can do. Yeah. Split carries with Justice. Maybe take back some of Justice Hill's carries and see what this young kid can do. Because he seems explosive.
Yeah, he's a bigger running back, and he seems like he can hit the hole.
He's bigger than Justice, but he's still on the small
side. But he hits the hole hard, right? You know, Justice is more to me a finesse guy, right? A good catch. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. So stuff like that. I'm trying to think.
Well, you go.
No, I was just thinking on a different subject. Millette on the corner, he had a fantastic game. Arthur Millette, he had a sack. He was tackling. And I like Hamilton too with his physicality. He tackles hard, and that's what we needed because we didn't always have that. Marcus Williams is not a good tackler in the backfield in the secondary, so it's good to have good.
He's always hurt too,
and he's always hurt. It's good to have physical corners.
Geno Stone got a pop fly interception, but ironically, he leads the league in picks. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. But the one criticism I do have is I mentioned we have a tendency to let number one receivers kill us. And Pickens was the first one this year that really hurt us. Mm-hmm. And the second one is this Amon St. Brown. I knew he was going to be a threat. Now, the score didn't show it, but in a close game, you know, you're going, how is this guy getting open over the middle time and time again? He had some amazing numbers, 13 catches for 102 yards. The only thing missing is a touchdown, you know? Yeah. And it just seemed like that was the only weapon Jared Goff had. I kind of knew that was his favorite, and that was going to be the only threat to us. Yeah. And he got his numbers, his numbers. But I'm just like, that's the one criticism this game I have. I got tired of seeing him catch the ball over and over. It brought back flashbacks of A.J. Green, the Pickens game this year. So I would like us to just... maybe see some like have him some contested balls, and he did sometimes. But man, he was lighting us up. If you really look at it that way.
Maybe it's because we had such a lead. They were playing off. They didn't want to get burned by him, right? So maybe they're playing off him, 5 to 10 yards to make sure that they don't have a big play. I don't know.
Possibly. But I mean, 13 catches over 100 yards is still 13 catches over 100 yards.
And premier receivers, Goff was going to go to him.
And it wasn't, I was going to say, it wasn't like Jared was hiding it. But I mean, other than that, I have nothing else to say on this
I just don't know how these guys get open, Brandon. I have to laugh because this zone that they play, and these guys that they're going to, it's just amazing to me that defenses can't shut one person down. It's just unbelievable. But hey, we're not play callers. We don't make millions to make these decisions and calls. I don't know what it's a zone. They don't want to get beat. I know there's a lot of facets to the game, but man, you just think that, my goodness, please stop the number one receiver on the team. Okay, if anything, don't let him beat you. But anyway.
So I mean, we're approaching the 20-minute mark. I want to switch really quick to our division, and I also want to make some bold statements here too. So the only thing that kind of squandered this beautiful win was the fact that two teams in our division got wins they should never have gotten. Now, I expressed that online, got some drawback, of course, from Browns and Steelers fans, because a fan is short for a fanatic. They don't really care because a W is a W. But man, what is going on with these refs? I mean, I know every year it seems like fans complain about refs, especially when the calls don't go their way, and every fan thinks that, refs just don't like their team. We've definitely expressed that and thought that way. I know other fans have. But you look at it, right? If you step back from the team you root for and you see, okay, last week the Browns play the 49ers, clean hit on a crucial fourth down, a flag on the play, and the NFL stresses the importance of clean hits. And this guy, textbook, he couldn't do anything better than how he did. He gets flagged for it. It's like, what do you do? Maybe he even got fined. You have no idea, right? I didn't look it up or anything. But the Browns get extended drive that game and win. Now, granted, 49ers should have made the kick. That stinks. But fast forward a week later, the same thing happens. A crucial fourth down. They actually turn the ball over, and there's a holding call down the field that has no impact on the play. The guy that they called a holding on ends up being initiated.
Contact.
Yeah, Amari Cooper initiated the contact, and he ended up falling down, and the guy's flagged. And they get on to win the game, and then Pittsburgh, clearly Kenny Pickett on that QB sneak is not even close. The Rams can't challenge or anything because they don't have a timeout under the 2-minute mark. I wanted to express that because it squandered my happiness this week because they're on our heels, and I get it. It's about what you do week in and week out. Don't worry about any other teams, but man, the fact that we blew it those 2 games to have these 2 losses, we don't have any breathing room because they keep winning. And that was my only, man, I was so, defeated for a minute because it's what is going on with the refs?
I'm going to look at it like that, but in an opposite way where, it squandered our
You can't do anything,
joy.
But it's frustrating.
But look at it like this. I'm looking at it at a bigger picture, like the overall NFL and how the refs are calling games especially at the end. So, I'm trying to look at it objectively, that you're looking at a team, and sometimes you look at them and you say, what if that was our team? What if it was in the fourth quarter?
That's what I'm saying.
I know. I mean, with 50 seconds to go, in our division or not in our division.
You play for 3 hours
not in our division.
and the game ends like that.
Yeah, I mean, I look back years ago with the Saints and that call that they made was clearly pass interference, which changed the game.
Now there's an investigation going on both those Browns games.
Exactly, and even Tom Brady, that rule they made specifically for him going a forward pass. See, refs should, and something needs to be done. I would ask for any input you have out there, that if you're watching this podcast, what needs to change, especially in the last 2 minutes of the game when you can't challenge things. If that's the case, then call it up to the booth and allow them to make changes, make major calls. With the refs that are on the field, like they do in New York in the baseball and stuff like that.
Listen, the NFL is very flexible with their rule changes. I mean, out of all the American popular leagues, they have probably changed the rules the most, and the ratings are still going up. They have no issue changing it. The one major rule was, you can challenge a pass interference. That only lasted for a year. 9 times out of 10, the challenge was not successful, so it was pointless, and that's why they offed away with it. I think with these calls, man, late in the game, these coaches should be able to challenge it. Now, the problem is with these refs are they going to change their mind with the play on the field? Probably not. Probably not.
The game is great because it's got that human factor and objectivity in it, right? Because you could make this game like robotic, Brandon. You could have electronic sensors on the end zones from point to point. I mean, we have the technology to do that. So at the goal line, it could be a laser beam, and if you pass it, it could really be. They're trying to keep it with the human factor and the human objectiveness of the refs.
I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is just a simple extra challenge.
Yeah.
Why can't Sean McVay say, you need to look at this again?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the game on the line. Right?
And what if that was the Super Bowl? I mean, you guys got to ever think of that,
And the reason why, it's not the human factor. The reason why the NFL is so popular is the fact that every game matters. You watch the NBA or baseball, you're not sweating bullets that your team lost because they're playing 4 extra games that week.
Yeah,
NFL, you wait all week for Sunday, right? Sunday is like, don't mess with me on Sunday. This is my day. I'm going to be in my man cave. You wait all week, and your team loses like that, and you got to sit on that for a whole week. That's not fair is what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
And it frustrates me because every other division in this league, we have the best one. We're neck and neck. No one can say who's going to finish out. So it just puts more pressure on us. And as a Ravens fan, this game was great, but we can blow it. We have the tendency to do that.
But I don't care because we have to take care of business. period. And if we're who we say we are, just take care of business. Don't depend on other teams to lose. Don't depend on the refs.
Yes,
And
but
so,
it does help. And when a
well,
team
fine.
legitimately loses, they just should deserve a loss. That's
Well,
all I'm saying.
That's
all I'm
and
saying.
everybody's going to have a counter to that, Brandon. To be honest with you, they're going to have a counter, and they're going to say, all these other plays that they didn't get called for. So that's the game. But I do agree with you that at the end of the game, specifically the fourth quarter and 2 minutes to go, don't not allow coaches to throw flags. And if that's the case, have the booth make major decisions like this. And I don't care if it takes 10 or 15 minutes, the whole, to make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, that rule to me, and that's the last thing I'll say on this, to me it's crazy because the end of the game in a close game is when it matters the most.
Right.
And now your hands are tied behind your back and you can't do anything.
It's frustrating.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's frustrating.
It's about as dumb as the overtime rule where, if they score on the first drive, you don't get the ball back.
I can't.
The game is great.
I would like to argue with you, but I can't because that is the stupidest rule ever. I mean, that is ridiculous. Don't make rules like that. I thought they were going to change that this year,
for
but
instance,
they didn't.
right? For instance, a couple years ago, when the Bills blew it with a couple seconds
Mm-hmm.
left and Kansas City kicked the field goal to go to overtime, they win the toss and they win the game. So the game is dictated on a coin toss, and Josh Allen, that he played great that game. I mean, you end a beautiful game off on that. That's disappointing, That's disappointing. So those are just simple things that I would change. Nevertheless, like I always say, as bad as I hate our rivals, we have the best division. It's the most exciting division. The rivalries are strong. But man, when our game is over, I am rooting so hard for them to lose, and it was just disappointing at the time. But hey, we got to go on. Worry about our next game in Arizona. They're 1-6. This should be a guaranteed win. And let's just hope that the Ravens don't downplay to their opponent,
No, Ravens flock. You just got to take care of business, Brandon. That's my opinion. I don't really care about the other teams right at this point. Take care of your business.
You cared in the moment, though.
Well, you do,
you were
but you win. You win your game. You win, and you have the record to win. And then you go and you get in the playoffs, and then all bets are off for the regular season anyway.
I get it, but I look at it from the perspective of the playoffs, and there's going to be close games, and I just don't like how these refs are reffing games, and your season could end on that.
That's a different aspect. That's a whole different aspect.
I said this to you, I think, off air, is that I don't think, because we have lost games at home, which is unusual for us, especially in the prime Flacco days. It was almost like a guaranteed win. But my bold statement is this. I genuinely believe we have the chance this year to go all the way. 2019 was the last time I felt like that. We were on a roll, 14-2, and we blew it, changing our game plan against Tennessee. But this season, I really do think Lamar's passing game has gone to another level. He has zoned in. The contract did not get to him. Usually you see guys get a big contract and they just fall off the face of the earth, right? You're like, what happened, Russell Wilson, for example, Deshaun Watson. I think Lamar, is even better than what he was in 2019 because you were only afraid of his legs. Now you're afraid of both. And he doesn't run as much, and that's great. Me and you expressed that. We wanted that. Yeah. So I think we have a chance, but I also will say this. I think we really need to push for that number 1 seed because that's the only seed that gets home field and they get the bye because it's going to be tough to beat Kansas City in Kansas City. I think if we're going to go all the way, we need to start thinking we need to get that 1 seed no matter how much it takes, at any cost possible, any means possible. And I think we can really go all the way. I really do. I was waiting to see. I wanted to see something, and this game showed me something. And so that's my bold statement. Whether it's bold or not, I don't know. But I'm not a homer to be like, oh, we're going to win it. I'm not like a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I truly believe that we have enough this year. And
I do. If Todd,
hopefully I'm right.
If they can stand by, if Todd Monken can stand and look at how he utilized these weapons, I don't know if it's him or the players or what, but the combination of the two, if they have that game plan like they did and take some risks. Don't be conservative like we always are and run the clock out. This is what I loved about this game, Brandon. They kept on first down passing the ball and getting downfield.
I mean, we were beating them both ways. And that's what we can do with this team because in 2019, we could only beat you with the run game.
Exactly. That's what my point is. So that's my whole point. Take care of your own team, your own business, your own
Obviously.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I look at it and I think this is one of our best, most well-rounded teams we've had in a while, and we're healthy, and we need to stay healthy. We need to stay healthy.
That's another thing about this game is we actually got out of it healthy versus a lot of other teams that are going down with their key players. So we got out of this game, Brandon. I agree with you 100% about the division and how hard it is in every game, but you don't have control of that. So therefore, take care of your business, home or away. You have the weapons, you have the players now. If they stay healthy, let's do it.
That was more so a talk about the referees.
The refs.
It wasn't more so about our opponents.
But you can't control that.
I know, but I mean, something needs to be done. I feel bad for Rams fans. I feel bad for Colts fans in the organization. I mean, you prepare all week.
I'm thinking about it if it was us, how we would feel right now.
I know.
We're losing a game like that, especially against Cleveland.
And even if it wasn't
in Pittsburgh,
even if it wasn't against our rival in our division.
I felt bad anyway for them.
So, but I mean, I look around the league. There was a big game last night, Eagles and Dolphins. I knew the Eagles were going to win. I think Miami is a fraud. They haven't played anybody. Warm weather teams don't do well when it comes playoff time. You got to play in a cold and everything. I mean, there is not a team I would take over this team. Yeah. It's been a critical.
Well, it's fun to watch. Hey,
as it's been. So.
Bottom line, fun to watch the Ravens. We have the most dynamic quarterback in the league. I don't care what they say about Patrick Mahomes. We have the most dynamic.
Hurts
I mean,
whatever.
to see what he did this game, the highlights he's going to have. He's in the running for Player of the Week again. We are lucky Ravens fans, and Brandon and I, we are happy to be able to do this because it's fun every week, win or lose, because we have the team that's exciting to watch, and it's demoralizing when they lose because we're such fans. However, who would you rather watch?
Yeah.
You know, we have the players now, and a lot of them are key players and dynamic players. Hey, I wouldn't take this team over any other. I wouldn't take any other team over the Ravens right now to watch. And they are saying this, Branding, on NFL Network and ESPN. They're all over this week, and now they're starting to watch us. Right? Mm-hmm. I like to stay under the radar because that's how we are. We're a blue collar team, and I want to go into underdogs and then kick somebody's butt. Right? Mm-hmm. Just like we did with Detroit, because all the talk was Detroit, how great they are, but they don't play anybody in their division. They don't play anybody. They haven't played anybody.
And plus, you got to look at, like, historically, you know, we have been in competitive games more than the Lions.
I mean, that's the whole point.
You know,
is that
we have history. Yeah. We have been in these games.
Exactly.
And they're just starting out in this new era.
And Lamar is maturing, just like you said. I hope he peaks at the second half of this season into an MVP season again, like he did. Because remember, he's been off for 2.5 years. If he peaks and he can be the player that we know he can be, yeah, you're right. We will be in contention.
And listen, how cool would it be to win a Super Bowl while doing this podcast? I mean, this is our third season.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, and that would be something you could look, me and you and everybody that watched could look back on week to week on the highs and lows and ultimately, you know, success. So I've been itching for another Super Bowl, and I haven't had that true feeling since 2019, and I was just wondering, when is it going to be? You know, am I going to see another one pretty soon? So I think we have a chance. I really do. And it's going to be exciting. So, I mean, next week, Arizona, we get a reunion with our boy Hollywood.
There we go.
Should be fun.
Should be fun to watch. Shout out to some of our season ticket holders and our subscribers. There's some new people that are looking at us. Craig and Tina, shout out to you. Scott and Ellen, thanks, and Fred, thanks for tuning in every week. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and the people that we don't know, you know, that have commented, that have liked. So yeah, I mean, if you have friends that are Ravens fans, share it with them. Even if you have friends that are fans of the opponents we play, you know, I kind of like those a little bit more when a fans of opponents that we play comment. I believe this year a Colts fan commented. So it's cool to see that as well. We want to know all perspectives, not just Ravens fans' perspectives. So, yeah, tune in next week, Arizona, and let's hope that the Ravens can ride this momentum. I'm not a fan of the 4:00 game, but hey, it is what it is. But
I'm a fan of playing in Arizona. We should
we
should kill them.
It's always the games that we think we're gonna win that we lose.
Okay,
so
I won't jinx them, and let's have a tough game, Ravens, and keep up. Keep the momentum going.
Yes, please tune in next week. This is Ravens Flock Talk.